I was a freshman in college at Carnegie Mellon Drama School, and the juniors that year were putting on a kind of an independent project of a collection of Jacques Brel called Jacques Brel is Alive and Well and Living in Paris, which was a group of songs translated in the late 60s and turned into a kind of theatrical review with 4 singers and ran for years and years and years downtown. And so it's kind of had a bit of a cult following ever since. And when I saw the group in college do it, I was kind of opened my eyes to the possibilities of story singing in a way that I've never known before that. And so I've always been in love, and I've always wanted to do a Brel show of some sort. And then when Rock of Ages kind of ended for me, I wanted a creative project because I kind of get crazy if I don't have one. So I called up Chris Schnelling, who is the booking agent for the Skivvies. Lauren Molina is a good friend of mine. So I called him up and I said, I want to do a concert. He said, do you have anything, like a concept that we can sell? So I've always wanted to do a Brel night. I've got kind of a loose idea of what I would do. And he said, yeah, I can sell that immediately. So he called me the next day, said, January, February. So I had to follow through with my concept. So I then took a dozen songs or so that kind of ran the gamut of an examination of the human condition, and then I took a series of interviews that he gave, and then built a tiny script segueing all the pieces from the interviews. So every word on the stage is from Brel's mouth himself. And he was kind of the voice of the generation that he came from, the youth generation of the late 60s in Paris. He was from Brussels, and kind of accidentally became the voice of a generation. And so the more and more I study him, the more I listen to him, the more impressed I am.
So you put your own spin on his music?
We tried to stay, I mean, the music's pretty timeless, so we tried to stay pretty true to it.
Right.
And yet we brought on some very contemporary players, so when we put the musicians on the music, it kind of now has this kind of time warp quality between present and past, which is kind of what I was hoping for.
Right.
I'm really happy with the way it ended up sounding, but we're staying pretty true to the tunes that he wrote.
So how does this differ from all the other projects that you've done?
I don't think I've ever done anything like this since college. We did something similar, or I did something similar when we were asked to do a poet project at school, where we were assigned a poet and created a 15-minute piece based on a handful of, I did Jack Kerouac, and this is a bit more sophisticated than that was. But I've never done anything like this. I enjoy a cabaret night, but I don't really want to do that. The kind of little banter between songs, I find it all to be a little trite. But I figured if I was going to do it, I wanted to do it in a sort of stylized way. That's kind of what this turned into.
It sounded great.
Thank you.
We're excited to come back again tonight.
I'm excited for you to be here.
Yeah. We were actually planning on coming before we
Well, good. I mean, hopefully twice through won't be too heavy duty.
Oh no, I think
so.
we'll be all right. I think we'll be fine. So you have quite a set list. What's your favorite song on the set list? Like, what's the most fun for you to perform?
I think it changes every time. Every song has kind of become a sentimental favorite in an odd way. I really don't know if I'd be able to say. I want it to feel like it's one long, singular piece.
Right.
So to pick one in particular, the first one I ever learned was Fenette, the kind of heartbreaking tale of jilted lover. And then the second song I ever learned, and these were years ago, was Amsterdam. And so everything else is fairly new to me, and so I'm still navigating my way through them. But I love them all.
Cool. Okay. So let's see.
I was curious how you started collaborating with like the rest of the members of the band.
Jonathan Ivey, my music supervisor and piano player. The last time I was back at Rock of Ages, he was subbing, learning the show, and he's good friends with my friend Justin Sargent, who was in the show, and we'd hung out a couple of times. And kind of the more I got to know him and decided I wanted to try and do this, it just felt like a natural, like he was the natural choice for me to ask to work on something like this, because he's usually just kind of down to play, and he knows the other musicians very well. So he brought them on board. He said these are the right guys, and I agree. And T-Bone plays drums for Public Enemy, so it's got this real hard-hitting contemporary sound.
I feel like you could hear that when you're watching this show.
It's different than what you'd expect out of a Brel night.
Yeah, the song Carousel, was that was really, I was not expecting that at all.
It goes there, right?
Yeah,
It starts so sweetly.
I was like, oh my god, this is so beautiful, and then
it gets a little out of control.
It was nice though, you know.
But it's all of these songs are just these beautiful metaphors for life, and it's so poetic, and you don't really have to put much on them. You just kind of have to learn them and then do them.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I do.
So what's a lesson that you've learned throughout doing all of this, like putting this together, like, and studying his music?
Well, to get through this, pacing is key, and establishing how to maintain my voice throughout it has been a challenge.
Right.
But I feel like I've got it figured out. And just kind of peeling away the layers. The first time I hear one of these songs, it feels so daunting. It's just so many words, and it just feels like you're being shot out of a cannon. You don't have time to breathe. You don't have time to think. So it's a little intimidating at first, and then as you start to figure it out, it just all of a sudden my brain knows it, and then it's just a matter of saying it and becoming familiar and being ahead of it, so that it doesn't knock you over. Not like any other music I've ever done. So it's a lesson in pacing and always being open to discovering new things each time you do it.
Right. Yeah. So how did you like pick the songs that you're doing tonight? Did you have like a specific?
I started out with just I want to do this song, I want to do that song, I want to do that song, and then I started to piece together little vignettes of themes. So the first kind of vignette is a trio of songs about idealistic love turning to disillusionment on love. It starts with a young man waiting hopefully for a girl that he thinks he's going to fall in love with on a date, and she never shows up, into a song about a man who's betrayed by a woman he thinks is in love with him. And then ending with somebody begging someone to stay who doesn't want to be there. So I tried to kind of create these little stories, cycles, and then put the interviews on top of that to segue, and it just kind of like a little game of, a little puzzle.
Do you feel personally connected to any of the songs that you're singing? Yeah.
He thinks the same way I do, which is kind of scary that the thoughts that I ended up writing down were just the way my mind works. And I think that's probably why I'm drawn to him so much.
What are you most excited for about doing the show tonight and then again on February 4th?
Just to see how it translates to an audience. My initial fear was that it would lull people to sleep, but I don't think it's going to.
I don't think you're going to have that issue. I think you're fine.
Something happens once you get the audience that that's when it locks in, and I know what I'm working with. When you're just rehearsing the tunes, you can't really tell what you've got. I mean, even just having the two of you and a handful of people walking in and out was very informative. But
that's good.
Once the audience is there, you can feel the kinetic energy. You can tell when you're affecting people, how you're affecting them.
Right.
And so that's what I'm most curious about. I mean, it's kind of like a preview audience or a dress rehearsal in an odd way. So you get that audience that first time and know what you have.
Kind of automatic feedback from.
Yeah. I think that's some sort of innate thing that happens once that new energy is there.
Right.
And if the material's any good, you just trust that it'll inform you.
Right.
Is there anything else that you just want to tell people about the show, or
give us all the deets? Yeah. All the dirty inside information.
I don't know if there's all that much that's dirty about it. I would say go on YouTube and look up Jacques Brel's live performances. It'll change the way you look at performers. He was a monster. He was an animal. He like nobody I've ever seen. He would perform 20 songs a night, 7 nights a week, 11 months a year, and I think he performed for 11 years straight, and then just stopped. He developed lung cancer, wound up dying young, 51, I think. But he's a fascinating guy who thinks about the world in such a complete way. Look him up, study him. He's the best. Just that I was authentic. Was the Sinatra song "My Way"? That I didn't kind of, and then the show talks about this. That the idea that you need to. The line is, it's true folly to perceive life as it is and not as it should be. And I think that's kind of the thesis of my life. I think I've been put here to hold a mirror to humanity and say this is what I see. And however that's interpreted, I guess will be my legacy. If I can get enough work that enough people will be listening.
Yeah. Well, we know Rock of Ages just closed, so congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. We saw you back in October, and it was nice. Yeah, it was great. So do you have any other upcoming projects that, aside from the show, that you're looking forward to, or?
I'm doing a workshop of a new musical by David Rossmer called The Blonde Streak, which is about a guy whose college girlfriend that he has been with for years and years and years, a brunette, leaves him for another man, and he goes on a series of rebound relationships with blonde women, all played by the same actress, who I'm not sure is playing it. And that's as much as I know about it. But I loved The Other Josh Cohen, which was another of David Rossmer's shows, and funny enough, I replaced him in my first Broadway show as an ensemble member of Fiddler on the Roof in 2005.
Right.
So we've known each other ever since then. And, looking for work and trying not to go crazy.
So,
I was just saying, you talked about your creative projects and you like to always have something to work on. Can you talk a little bit about It Could Be Worse and how that kind of started? Because I know you do a lot with that, not just acting in it, but you write and direct.
Yeah, it's Wes and I do kind of everything on it. I met Wes Taylor in Rock of Ages off Broadway. And then when we moved to Broadway, we started doing a backstage video series just to kind of keep things interesting.
yeah.
And through the course of that, we started developing a real collaboration with each other. We did another series called Billy Green, and we just kind of taught ourselves how to do it, how to make our own content and edit it and get it out there. And then Wes had written a pilot called Veronica, which was based on his experience in a specific show with a specific actress, and we were going to try and get funding to do a dummy pilot, which I don't really even know how practical that would have been. But while we were waiting for kind of lawyers and money and whatever to figure it out, we wanted to make a series of video shorts, sketches based on personal stories of humiliation. Mm-hmm. And so the story about Wes using the women's room at a McDonald's audition and getting yelled at by the casting director was going to be our very first. When we shot it, it was like, no, we didn't earn 90 seconds on the toilet with what we've got here, so decided to make a short film out of it. I wrote kind of everything that happened up to the audition, mm-hmm. and then Wes liked the idea, and so he kind of rewrote some of my script, and then we just shot it as a short film mm-hmm. on my T3i. And then we thought, well, this is kind of like a nice little intro to something that could go on farther. And at that point, we lost our funding for the pilot, so we just thought, let's just merge the idea, and that's kind of how it was born. And we knew some specific actors we wanted to be involved. Gideon Glick was one of them, mm-hmm. and so we just shot kind of on an idea of who this character would be, improvisation, and then that character kind of became what it became. And so it was just kind of this very, I hate to use this word, but a very organic collaboration that turned into something much bigger than we thought it would.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any other questions? No. You good? What's one secret that nobody would know about you?
I don't keep a lot of secrets. Oh God, I'm on the spot here. I mean, I don't know if it's a secret. I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to knowing about musicals and the history of it, and right. I think people have always thought of me as somebody who kind of likes to come and fuck things up. But I've got a pretty good knowledge of the history of it all and where we came from and where we're going with it. Mm-hmm. Well, if that's what you wanted.
No, that's fine. Perfect. If you had one superpower, what would it be?
Check.
I'd love to be able to fly. That would be the one.
That's
one of my favorite dreams, you know?
I always have this dream that I'm flying and then I just end up going straight down. So
oh, man.
That's not a good
Anxiety.
one. Seriously.
So then, do you just want to tell when the next show is?
Plug it.
Yes. Come see the performances of my concert. Jacques Brel is alive and well and living everywhere. It's tonight, January 22nd at 9:30, and Wednesday, February 4th at 9:30 as well. My hope is to maybe find a way to kind of tour to universities, colleges, that kind of thing, because I think college students are the ones who would be the most affected by it. But yeah, come out on the 4th. Still plenty of seats available.